Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the Vin-Man show. I'm the Vin-Man. Anyway, if you caught the last episode, or the last recording, whatever you want to call them, it was pretty heavy about my stay in the hospital with my heart attack. But that was 2 years ago, and I told you that this time I wasn't gonna be real heavy and continue on about my stay in the hospital. And I also told you before that the reason I'm doing these recordings is because when people ask you about your hospital stay, I could tell them, but then I'm going to find somebody else and they're going to ask, and then the next person's going to ask, and I'm going to have to tell it a dozen or 20 times over and over again. And tell you the truth, I don't really like bringing it up or thinking about it myself. But here again, if I can guide them to this recording, then they can look it up and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was like that," and this is what it was like. But there are several other reasons that I'm doing this recording, other than just that. As I said in the beginning, there's several, not just one. And the other one was another one of them is. Remember, I told you my life flashed in front of my eyes just about a couple months ago, because I was back in the hospital over Thanksgiving of 2016, and now it's almost Valentine's Day. It's almost Valentine's Day, February 14th, so that was about 2 months ago that I was in the hospital. That my life flashed in front of my eyes, and they gave me 48 hours to live, and that was not good. So it was a difficult time, and I was really doing a lot of praying and talking to the Lord, and I told him I want to get out of here, and I said, I really like to get out of here, and I like to write down a lot of this stuff that I can remember about my life flashing in front of my eyes. And because it went so fast, and it's very hard to explain, that your mind could understand this stuff. Now that I'm back to my normal mind, it's hard to explain what it was. And I said, if I can get out of here, I'd like to, write it down. And I distinctly heard God say, no. And I said, oh, God, why not? Why wouldn't you want me to have it write it down? Write it down. And then I'm pretty sure I heard him say, no time. And I go, no time? I was going, oh, does that mean I don't have any time left? I'm going to be checking out? And I said, no, that can't be it, because life and death are in the power of the tongue, and I'm choosing life. And in the scriptures, He's promised me. God's word, it's His word where He promises you uh, a lot of stuff. And He promised me, He said, with a long life, I will satisfy you. I will satisfy you with a long life. And I said, well, shoot, at 65, that's not that long. That's like the new 45, and I'm not satisfied. There's a lot of stuff I like to do. I like to retire. I like to watch my granddaughters grow, etc., etc. I like to do some more traveling and enjoy life more. And so and I'm a believer, and I believe that I believe that. I believed God was going to get me out of the hospital, which He did. And uh, here again, without any mechanical devices or cuts and scrapes, which is another miracle, which I'll get back into later. But I don't want to go back into those heavy subjects about being in the hospital. But so I was thinking, well, gee, if He doesn't want me to write down the experience that I had of my life flashing in front of my eyes, um, I said, wow, that's kind of strange, because I was reading in the Bible, it says when you die, you go to a place where you're judged by God to whether or not you get to go into heaven or not. And it said, so you either get to go to heaven or you get to go to the other place, hell. And this is for eternity. So, and in the scriptures that I read, it said, when you die, and you go to heaven, your life is laid out for everyone in heaven to see. So I was going, wow, this is, so to me, I kind of related that to, you know how they have a little black box in the jet airplane, so like if they crash, they find the jet box and they can find out what caused it to crash. Well, I think humans were like all computers. So when you die, and you go to heaven, your life can be opened up very easily, kind of like a book, but I think people will be able to see it so fastly, is that a word? So fast that it's not, it won't be like reading. It'll just say your life will be laid out so everyone in heaven can see it. And that's going, wow, so if everybody, so my whole life is going to be laid out on the line anyway, but then the people up in heaven will be able to see it, and then they'll be able to see the way God judges me. And if he says, yeah, you can get in, they can look at my life and say, yeah, he deserved to come in. Because otherwise, if you're going to be judged, and you know, I mean, if you just went to, you know, died, and they say, okay, you go to hell, you go to heaven, and you don't, and you can't present your case, that wouldn't be fair. And God's a fair and just God. And so I was thinking, wow, you know, so if my life is laid out for everyone to see in heaven, then uh, but here again, all these experiences won't be known to all my friends here on earth. And I think a lot of the experiences here that I had on earth might, you know, make people think twice about reading the Bible if you're not a Bible reader now. Because I never really try and push God and His Son on people. I just figure, hey, they have their own, they have a Bible, they can read it themselves and figure it out. I'm not a preacher, and I guess maybe you call me a teacher if I'm teaching you anything now. But since you know, your life is going to be laid out in heaven for everybody to see, and then God judges you if He says, okay, yes, you get in, and people could look at your life and say, yeah, he qualifies to get in. But if He says, nay, you're going that away, people say, ugh, you know, but then they can look and say, yep, look at this life. He deserves what God gave him. And I don't know whether people realize the word eternity. You know, like we're on earth. If you get 100 years on earth, you've done good. That's a long time. But 100 years to compare to eternity is nothing. It's like a pinhead on an elephant. You know, elephant being eternity and the pinhead being 100 years. So it's, if you die, you want to go to the right place, believe me. So anyways, that's why I'm doing these recordings, is to try and get some of these memories that I remember, because after my life flashed in front of my eyes and then I had to lay there in the hospital, I was able to, you know, bring them back up and think about them in my mind, kind of what I saw. And it's amazing how, and I told you, I didn't think anything about work. I did think about vacations and families, and also other life. I've had a number of life threatening experiences in my life where I look back and say, wow, you know, you could say, well, thank your lucky stars. I don't believe in that. I'm thanking God. And it's, you know, here again, I could be a cat with 9 lives, because I was looking back and she was pretty close to about 9 times, and I brushed death pretty close. And I'm going to bring those up to you. But I think I've exhausted my time right now. And I will continue this because I think I'm called. I think it's God's business to call me to do this, because I don't think I have time to write it in a book, which would be another book. No, actually, next time maybe I'll tell you I did write a book, and it took years to write it. And that was one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, was writing a book. But it was very joyful. And I think next time I will bring that up and talk to you. So hopefully this episode made you feel good, and I hope you remember what I said. Be happy. Okay, see you next time.